very much, Chair and members. Good afternoon, and I would like to thank you for the invitation to appear before you today in relation to your consideration of Ireland's national aviation policy. Our current policy was published in August 2015, which is a little over 20 years since a previous formal statement of objectives have been made in respect of aviation. I think we can all agree that air travel has changed remarkably since 1984, yet some of the objectives set out then and restated in 2015 still remain valid today. The development of that 2015 policy was a thorough process which was launched in December 2012 and involved multiple phases of consultation and consideration of views and comments expressed and offered by a range of stakeholders. And it is intended that we will approach the review in a similar consultative and collaborative manner. Of course, we cannot talk about aviation policy without recognising and acknowledging our geographic position and the unique role that aviation plays in ensuring that geography has not been an impediment to our economic development. We are an island nation on the periphery of Europe, but despite that we've managed to build our economy to one that's recognised worldwide in scale. Indeed, President von der Leyen, in her address in the Dáil last week, remarked how Ireland is seen as a success story at the European Union. And I think that if we are to look for evidence to illustrate that, we could look to the aviation sector as an example. We rely on aviation to provide our international connectivity and to secure our economic position globally. In addition, we do so to direct employment. In addition to direct employment, aviation services are a key driver for our wider economy through the various ancillary services provided in airports, airlines and local communities. It also plays a central role in supporting our tourism industry, which has been a leading job creator, especially in rural communities. Prior to the pandemic, tourism supported over 260,000 jobs, with almost 70% of those located outside of Dublin. No doubt Minister Naughton will take the opportunity in her opening statement to provide some detail in respect of our policy approach to airports, both state and regional. I'd like to turn to the principal goals at the heart of the National Aviation Policy, which was to enhance Ireland's connectivity, to foster the growth of aviation enterprise, and to maximise the contribution of aviation to Ireland's sustainable economic growth and development. I think it's fair to say that since the policy was published, it has served the industry well, and significant progress was made in the implementation and delivery of those goals. 2 progress reports were published in respect to the policy, the most recent of which was in 2019. Unfortunately, as we all are aware, we soon faced after that with the worst crisis to hit the aviation industry, and indeed many industries, in the form of the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2020, focus was quickly diverted to managing this crisis, and difficult decisions which needed to be taken, both domestically and globally, have had extreme consequences for the aviation industry. Government engaged closely with the industry during this period of upheaval and provided unprecedented horizontal exchequer supports to try and alleviate the impacts that were being experienced. Further to this, the National Economic Recovery Plan recognised additional support may be required to support the sector's recovery as European and international air travel returned. Given this, Government allocated a further €116 million under a COVID supplementary support scheme to Irish airports. This funding compensated smaller regional airports for the damage caused to them by COVID, as well as providing state airports with flexibility to roll out route incentives to reduce rebates or to provide rebates with the view to supporting recovery and returning connectivity. These route incentives have proved successful in providing impetus for the recovery. We're pleased to see that is now well underway. However, it does not mean that obstacles do not remain. My department has now turned its attention to assessing the current drivers for change in the context of a revision of the National Aviation Policy. The impact of COVID-19 is one factor. However, there are other issues in the changing landscape in the aviation industry that need significant consideration. I believe the most crucial of these is the climate crisis. We can no longer ignore the fact that the fundamental change is necessary to mitigate the negative impacts caused to our environment by air travel. I am working closely with European colleagues on the progression of the EU's most comprehensive package of proposals ever to address climate change, the Fit for 55 legislative package. A number of measures in the package will directly impact the aviation industry. A key element in the short term is addressing the decarbonisation of the industry and the key role in that will be the role for sustainable aviation fuel. New obligations will be placed on airlines to incorporate at mandate levels of sustainable aviation fuel, SAF, into their fuel supply chain from 2025. Given this is a nascent industry, it's clear that it's an area which we will need to examine carefully in the context of our review. There are other ways and means where we can decarbonise, taken from what is known as a basket of measures, which include technological advances, improvements in operational arrangements, market-based measures. Irish airlines by and large operate modern, fuel-efficient fleets. However, there is still a requirement for them to engage in the market-based measures, such as the emissions trading scheme from a European perspective and CORSIA on a global level. The ETS has proven to be effective, and the European Commission has estimated that aviation's participation in this scheme has contributed almost 200 million tonnes of reductions of CO2 emissions over the past 8 years. The Fit for 55 package includes a proposal to further strengthen the ETS scheme for aviation. Industry itself has acknowledged that it needs to play its part, as we all do, and that includes the travelling public. I would encourage anyone who has an opportunity to voluntarily offset their journey to take that option. There have been many other developments happening domestically, including the institutional changes in respect of our safety and economic regulators and our air navigation services being provided. I'm pleased to say that Minister Naughton and officials have secured the passing of this important piece of legislation, which will see us move forward with the best practice approach to regulatory structure. There are changes internationally too, and innovations and advances in the industry that will need to be considered in our review. Aviation has always been an evolving industry, and this challenges us as policymakers and regulators to act to ensure that we can provide a fit-for-purpose framework within which our industry can operate and develop in a sustainable way. It's safe to say that there's real challenging work ahead of us, and saying that, we must also recognise that it will take time to undertake the appropriate engagement and analysis needed to make sure that we adopt the right approach for all of us. I look forward to engaging with the Committee on this work and to receive your own analysis and views following this series of engagement that you've undertaken. Thank you, Chair.